Obama
It's
is not
private,
a party
global,
to this.
corporate intelligence nexus networks with key rogue groups interfacing at an international level. But you
Right,
also
you
have...
see that the State Department would like to lift the visa, at least they claim, but then another agency says, no, we're overriding that. And the general idea in the Obama White House, as we saw on January 4th, right, with this very interesting broadcast by Richard Wolff on MSNBC, he came on Olbermann and came on Rachel Maddow and said the Obama White House thinks that the Christmas Day incident was intentional by a network with an alternative agenda and that it's designed to make Obama look bad. Now, the Obama look bad part is very superficial and trivial compared to the big geopolitical goals that are always involved, right? We had several weeks of hysteria.
Launch the new Yemen war, get the naked body scanners in. Look, I want to go over all this with you, but first, specifically, I know clearly they are putting out the talking point through neocon channels that 9/11 Truth, who we know is the White House and the Rogue Network's #1 enemy, we have Cass Sunstein admitting it, we have Bush's congressional hearings saying it, Webster, they're clearly putting out the trial balloon, the psychological backstory, the history that 9/11 Truth is going to kill the president. Now, my question to you is, I mean, I believe, and I've gotten a pretty darn good track record of being able to gauge what they're up to and doing, that at bare minimum, they're putting the card in their hand. They're taking it out of their sleeve and putting the false flag, fake assassination attempt, getting ready to play it, considering that they may go ahead and try it. So they're gauging right now to stage an assassination on Obama to get his approval ratings up, and I believe he's probably involved in it, and then it could have the added intimidation threat on top of it. I mean, why are the neocons and others right now saying 9/11 Truth is going to try to kill him?
Well, I think you have to take that very seriously. And the reason I think you should take it seriously is also because what's going on in the background, I think, is a very important strategic shift. And again, you have to take a step back. Last week, we had February 11th in Iran, right, the anniversary of the revolution. And the Green Movement, the CIA-backed color revolution, people power coup forces associated with Mousavi, Rafsanjani, and the mullahs, as we now find out, were attempting to make this a test of strength, that they would bring out their green base and overwhelm the Ahmadinejad supporters, overwhelm the existing government, and maybe start a people power coup on February 11th. This has been going on, of course, since last summer. Now, this was a complete failure. It fizzled completely. They did not have the people. They were not coordinated. The forces are demoralized, and so forth. So it means that for the moment, the idea of overthrowing the Iranian government from within and getting a regime change is out the window. So now what you see from Hillary Clinton and others is beating the drum for crippling economic sanctions against Iran, but then behind that looms what I think is an important shift. For the first time in 2 years now, I think the attack on Iran is on the front burner. It was way on the back burner. It was several rows back on this stove that they have, but now it's on the absolute front burner.
Well, I agree with you. They're moving in troops, moving in ships, moving in missile systems, defensive and offensive, and I want to walk through this with you, Webster. But specifically, when my little alarm bells start going off, you know, it's almost more than just the data. I mean, it's like a hunch, but I've pretty much always been right. Why are they saying 9/11 Truth is going to kill Obama? What's the point of that?
Well, they want the option. Again, you have to be aware, though, there would probably be other options, right? You've mentioned some of them, right? Some of them would be disgruntled right-wing war veterans, but then again, the other possibility is somebody with a link to Iran would also be very convenient. So
No, that's what Beck's saying. He says 9/11 Truth works with Iran, so they're going to get a double goodie.
Well, that makes it even more plausible then. So I think everybody should take that stuff very, very, very seriously.
So you think my concerns are valid?
Absolutely valid, sure. The only thing is we got to keep in mind there's an array of possibilities, and every one of them gives them certain advantages. Here's the thing, though. The attack on Iran now is not the same as the attack on Iran in 2006, 2007, when the Cheney group, the rogue network, Invisible Government, with Cheney as the visible part of that above the waterline, they really wanted to attack Iran for the purpose of destroying Iran, and the other stuff would have been secondary. Right now, the attack on Iran is primarily directed against China, because the big thing in Washington right now is the absolute hysteria of the ruling class, right, the elite, the Wall Street group and their political commissars here in Washington, is the idea that China is catching up and passing the United States, right? It's already the world's biggest exporter. There's some question about whether it's passed Japan to become the world's biggest economy. They're building, as Obama said today, China is building 21 nuclear reactors of the most modern type. And Obama came forward and said, we're going to counter that with 2. So it's pathetic. The Chinese they're building 18,000 miles of fast rail. The U.S. has, 200, 300 miles. They're going into space, right? Obama
Stay there. We've got a break. We're going to come back and go over this. And we have Hillary saying, we'll put sanctions on China if you don't let us attack Iran. I mean, it's insane. Okay, Webster. Continuing as you give us this larger geopolitical breakdown, I agree with you. If you remember, one of the few predictions where you were wrong, and nobody's perfect, was you were sure they were going to attack Iran, what was it, 4 years ago? And I didn't believe they were from all my sources. But you've been right more times than I have been, and I agree with you this time, and that's why I'm worried. They clearly are saying they want to go into Iran. Israel's saying it. They're pre-positioning. What will the attack look like? It's now on the front burner. How do we stop it from happening? And on the larger scene, how will they precipitate it? Will it be a false flag? What type of false flag are you looking for?
Let me just backtrack now. The last time we had this active danger was 2006, 2007, which was the twilight of the neocon Cheney invisible government regime under the second Bush administration. And that was, of course, the rogue B-52 of August to September 2007 was the high point of that, after which the danger, because it had been blocked, right?
The missing cruise missiles.
That was blocked by forces inside the U.S. military and the intelligence community. And it meant
and
that
Fox Fallon said no. I mean, that was the real end of it.
It went up the ladder, and then the answer came back no. And the no probably came from Robert Gates and the Pentagon by then. The Brzezinski guy put in with the idea that they were going to change the policy and get rid of the neocon approach to these things. When you had the National Intelligence Estimate of December 2007 saying, and it's worth stressing again today, there is no Iranian nuclear weapons program as of December 2007, that was a sign that inside the bureaucracy, the people who wanted the attack on Iran had lost out, and that the Brzezinski group coming in saying, we have better things in store for Iran. What they had in store, of course, was the color revolution that now seems to have fizzled, with the idea being if you could put in a U.S. puppet regime in Iran, it's possible that you could then use Iran against China by cutting off oil and against Russia by making trouble in the Caspian Sea and in Central Asia in general. So as soon as, I think by January 2008, I put out now that the attack on Iran was getting to be less and less likely. So and I think that has held true during 2008, 2009.
And now, currently, Iran is not making anything near fissile material. They asked France to enrich it for them so everybody would know it couldn't be used in a weapon system. They want to supply nuclear energy to the Middle East. They know that they can't count on oil, and they're told no, no, no.
Right, which is, of course, illegal. It's outrageous. It's a double standard, right? Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. What is the signaling out of Iran? It's contrary to international law, because in international law, everybody has to be equal, formally equal. There has to be complete reciprocity, no hypocrisy, no double standards.
And we go back to 1953. It's been a Anglo-American British possession. They've always wanted it back.
Right. Now, just in terms of the war danger, a couple of things to cite. Ahmadinejad, in his speech, I guess yesterday or this morning even, says Israel wants war by spring, summer of this year. So that's Ahmadinejad. And General Ivashov, right, the former head of the Russian military, high official of the Russian Defense Ministry. I met him at Thierry Mason's Axis for Peace back in 2005. He says that the danger of an Israeli attack on Iran right now is greater than it ever was. And you've got Netanyahu in Moscow for 2 days trying to convince Russia, among other things, not to deliver this A-300 surface-to-air missile capability, which would make it not impossible, but much more difficult and much more expensive in terms of planes and pilots lost for anybody to attack certain key targets inside Iran. So all of this is coming together. In the middle of this, Hillary Clinton has made a speech, which I think is really a teachable moment. She says, and she repeated this 3 times yesterday. She's in the Gulf, right? She was in Qatar, I guess, and then she went on to Saudi Arabia. She's trying to organize the Saudis and their friends in the Gulf Cooperation Council to be part of what looks like.
And we now have a Saudi minister agreeing that sanctions aren't enough. So Saudi Arabia, where the 15 hijackers came from, always wanting to attack other countries.